It's Welcome to Broadcasting. I'm Curtis Dean.
I'm Gary Wolter. Welcome.
Welcome. This is our third episode of Welcome to Broadcasting, our podcast all about the good old days of radio. Gary and I are both radio refugees. And in this episode, we're going to be focusing on some celebrity encounters, but not close encounters of the third time because I've never been abducted.
No aliens, but lots of rock and roll star stories. And these are the days when radio was the thing as far as promoting artists. That's what they did. There was no internet yet. The radio was how you got your radio or your song played, and then your album sales hopefully would go up. And then the local program director at each city would decide what to actually play. But then, of course, when that genre of music, if you were a harder rock station, like you'd play Aerosmith or Guns N' Roses, maybe when they would come through town, you'd have free tickets and free backstage passes for your listeners. So that was part of the show that you got to do. So it was an exciting time.
It was kind of an exchange of value, right? We, the radio station, have the value of getting butts and seats at your concert or getting people to buy your record or whatever. And in exchange, you give us goodies that we can give away to our listeners, and that builds our listenership. So a lot of times that was a kind of a trade-off there, right?
It was a way of really being part of more about the community. And it was, to me, it was like, okay, the cool stations were the ones that brought the artists in, and you make it, sound like that. Like the radio station itself was calling Steven Tyler up and saying, "Hey, we got your back here in Cedar Rapids." It was all an illusion. And it was a cool
it's all illusion. I could just picture Steven Tyler in a room going, "Okay, where do we want to go?" I heard that guy Gary. Let's go to Cedar Rapids and do a concert. Make sure we get in front of Gary, though.
There's been some comedians that I have connected with on Facebook, and I always say, when I friend them, I'll give them a private message and say, "I'm sure you remember 25 years ago when you were in my studio." They've been on thousands of studios, but there's a few of them that, believe it or not, have pretended at least to remember. I've even gone to live shows and done the same thing when I had them live in the studio. But yeah, these are fun stories that I would like to share with you. And Curtis has he's made a lot more politicians because he was a news guy. But here it is. Look at those shorts. My God. And those are illegal in some states in the South.
You know what? I just, when you sent me these pictures, Gary, I just called this one Gary Legs.
It was before Michael Jordan. Us old guys know how this happened. Michael Jordan is the one that started the long shorts look. Before that, this was it. You wanted to show those tan legs, and this was in the summer at Q103, KQCR, which is now Z102.9. I think the studio, that room is still used as the studio. I'm pretty darn positive. Totally looked different, obviously, but it was a stand-up. You could sit down if you wanted to. But that was also the first era where they decided to make a stand-up where they thought that you sounded better by standing up when you would speak.
Yes.
I agree with that. There was more energy. Yeah,
I remember the graduating from sit-down to stand-up boards at the stations I worked at, and I absolutely agree with that. It gave you more energy. We usually had a stool there, right, that you could sit on.
Yeah.
And some people would even sit on that while they're doing with the mic open, but I think most of us would push the stool out of the way and stand up because I think you just got more energy. You could get more, the diaphragm, all that. It's like you'll talk to any vocal coach, they'll say you don't sing sitting down. So why would you, do that on the radio or any other way you're using your voice?
Now, I will point out that that's an RC Cola can, not a Budweiser.
Yeah.
And I don't think I even drank RC Cola. I think that was somebody else's. Then on the right side of the picture, all those blue looking things, those are the carts that we sometimes talk about. They're like 8-track tapes kind of thing. One song was each on one of those. And and then above the board there, you can see where you'd stick those in there. That's how we played songs back then with no computers.
We were one of these days we're going to do an episode just about equipment because equipment has evolved so much and introduced some of these foreign things to people that have never seen. But this is a typical late 80s, early 1990s radio studio. So this is the world we lived in back then, and spent way too many hours in it.
Way too many. And you could smoke in the studios back then too. I remember having to take Lysol on the little foam thing that the protector of the microphone. Good Lord. For the stuff that we had to put up with, Curtis.
Well, I was one of those smokers. I don't think I ever smoked
You
in
were
the
part of the
studio.
problem.
I was
What's
always
that?
good enough to go out in the garage, but
Okay.
I worked in at a radio station in Cedar Rapids part-time, and their morning guy, when they decided, the engineer and the general manager decided we can't allow smoking in the studio anymore, this guy threw a fit, and he like had all these smokers' rights signs all over the break room. He was gonna, he threatened to quit. He was gonna walk out, and you have good luck finding a morning guy because everybody needs to smoke. We have human rights, Well, anyway, he didn't quit, but the compromise was he could smoke in the break room. So the bullpen break room, whatever you want to call it, where all of us would have our stuff that we would gather before we would go on the air, was like walking into a fog, like you would see on Kong Island or something. And that was because of we couldn't smoke in the studio, but he would smoke like a smokestack in there. So, all right. So Gary, this is what the natural environment, the radio DJ in the wild back then, but sometimes the radio DJ got to go out of his comfortable environment and go backstage and see people like this.
So that's Duran Duran. That's Simon LeBon and Nick Rhodes. And I think Nick Rhodes, the guy in the back there, not in the front, the back to the right, I think he married a gal from Des Moines, Iowa, if I remember correctly. And I think that they may still be married. I don't remember hearing that they ever broke up. But Simon LeBon's a huge guy. He was 6'4". You got to remember, people, these are little cameras, 35 millimeter, self-focusing. So these cameras didn't take very good pictures. They usually
they don't. And that's kind of a retro thing now. People are buying cameras like that that take retro pictures.
Well, I hope they're better than they were, 30 years ago. But the flash is, making his face look funny. But the thing about this backstage experience, I don't know if you got any more pictures of him. I think there is another one, but
yeah, I got it.
He wasn't the nicest guy, to be honest. Nick Rhodes was. He was very nice. I always judged people, even when I was even 22, 23 years old, if even that old. It was always meant a lot to me when the rocker, the famous celebrity, would come up to you and say their name. Like, hi, I'm Nick.
Yeah.
And that's what Nick Rhodes did. Simon, not so much. I don't know if he was irritated. Some of these guys are perfectionists. And this was before the show, which is very odd. You almost always met
that is
after
weird.
the show. So that could be one reason why he was on edge, because he's ready to perform. So I don't know who the goofball would be. I wouldn't want to, if I was performing, I wouldn't want to talk to anybody locally, behind backstage before I perform. It'd always be after. It'd be more jubilant and more like a celebration, like a sporting event. But anyway, I just do remember that. And this was like in 1987 is when that picture was taken.
Waterloo, Cedar Rapids, where was
this? Was at what was used to be the 5 Season Center, downtown Cedar Rapids, which had a ton of shows because they opened up, I believe, in 1978.
Yep.
And so that first decade was nothing but incredible shows. And if you've ever been to the arena there, it's not very big. There's not a bad seat in the place. And
it's
so
a great
it was just a great time of history. And I'm sure a lot of our viewers have been to shows there. And it was just so fun.
I saw a bunch of acts there in high school. REO Speedwagon, April Wine. Boy, I'm really dating myself now, aren't I? I think I saw Styx there. And it's still there. I can't remember what it's called now. It's not the 5 Season Center. I'm sure somebody listening or watching is going to know exactly what we're talking about. But
I think it's Powerhouse or something.
Yeah, I think you might be right. Yeah.
Whatever,
it's some energy company that named it.
Yep.
Because there's
Allegiant Energy or something.
All venues now have to be named after a corporate sponsor. It's just the economics of the world today.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So there you are with them backstage before, and here you are.
That's after.
And that's Simon again, right?
Simon LeBon. And that album.
He is tall, man.
Yeah, because I'm 6'1".
Yeah.
And
of course his hair gives him another 3 inches, but
it's true. I'm trying to think of the album that didn't do very well, to be honest. And I think that was part of the reason. I remember asking him about the album, and then telling him that we were playing all the songs at KFMW. You can see my T-shirt there. That's KFMW in Waterloo, downtown Waterloo is where the station was. But this is again in Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of that album, but it didn't do very well. And I said,
after Hungry Like the Wolf.
Oh yeah, way after. This is like their second or third album, because this is 1987.
Sophomore Slump album. Yeah.
I remember there was I bet you no one will remember, but I do. There was a song called Skin Trade that was a semi-hit. And I remember telling him, hey, we're playing the new song off the album. And his response was, I'm glad somebody is.
Oh, bye. Yeah.
I mean, he was not a big ball of joy that particular day, but.
All right. Well, I'm looking it up right now because this is going to drive me crazy what that album might have been.
It might have been 1988.
Let me see here. Is there discography?
Is it something of the Ragged Tiger or something like that? Is that the
Seven and the Ragged Tiger was 1983.
Okay, that's way before.
There's the album Big Thing.
No, look at 1987 or 1988 was the album.
Okay, hang on.
But yeah,
Notorious.
Yes, and that was a hit. That was the hit on this record. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. Yeah, Notorious. And the funny thing about that is
Skin Trade.
The exact same time, Loverboy had a song called Notorious, which was ridiculous. The exact same time.
Yeah, so that would have been their, let me see here. That would have been their fourth album. So Duran Duran, the debut, and Rio were huge hits.
Yep.
Seven and the Ragged Tiger had a couple hits on it. And then the album with Notorious was kind of a dog. And then they had a comeback in the early 2000s. The one with
they did
with Come Undone.
It almost seems like if you're successful, those first 2 or 3 albums, the third or fourth album is never going to work, no matter what happens. And then you got to go out on tour, and then you play all your songs that everybody knew from the first 1 or 2 albums, and then you have, if you're lucky, you have one more, and that's what Duran, like the song "Undone" by Duran Duran was a really good song. That's
still, I think it's one of my favorite songs, not just of Duran Duran, but of all time. That's one I will turn up when I hear it. It has got a mood to it. But
Duran Duran was the face, one of the main faces of MTV in its early beginnings. They were good-looking guys. They evidently, maybe not according to that picture, but knew fashion and just dressed differently, and girls dug them, and the guys liked the music, so it all worked.
You know what was funny? When they were big, I wasn't a big fan, and I thought, I didn't want to turn this into a Duran Duran podcast, but this is interesting. No. I didn't really like them that much, and I thought they were kind of, I don't know what I thought they were, what their genre of music was. But then years later, I'm listening to Sirius XM, and they have a channel called First Wave, which is like new wave stuff, like I was really into in the early 80s. And a Duran Duran song will come on, and I'm like, you know what? This fits. This really was kind of that genre. Much of it was. It wasn't hard rock. It wasn't metal or anything like that. You know, it was more of a new wave, first wave kind of thing. So
totally.
Well, there he is. Is he signing a album or a magazine, or what the heck's he signing?
That's the album. That's the album sleeve that he's.
Okay. Okay. Cool. He looks excited. He looks excited to be in your presence.
Doesn't he?
He really does. He does. He looks like, I don't know. He looks a little bit like George Michael in this picture.
A little bit.
You didn't get to meet George Michael, did you?
No, I did not.
God, that guy. I loved him. Gone way too early. All right. This is a before and after.
Yeah, the before is pretty bad, but the video is really bad. That's a shot of the video. And everybody who's lived on planet Earth has seen the flock of seagulls, I Ran. That song has been on the radio it just doesn't stop. In fact, I just saw it before we got on today, Curtis.
Did you?
My buddy loves Flock of Seagulls, and he sent me a shot of them still in concert. I've met this guy 2 times, the lead singer. He's just something else. I'm trying to think of his name now.
Yeah, I was drawing a blank too.
Well, I know it. It'll come to me. I'm just being camera shy or something.
I'm going to search anyway, just in case.
No, Mike Score. Mike Score is his name. It's
Mike
a different
Score. Okay.
Yeah, Score. And this was in Phoenix like 5 years ago. that picture in the bottom. My wife Melinda there in the middle, and they had these. They have these great what they call them lost 80s weekends or lost 80s, and they'll have like 7 or 8 artists. They all had 2 hits, and they'll all come on and play their 2 or 3 songs, and then it's the next one. So together they put 2 hours together. And the cool thing about it for us baby boomers, Gen X people, is that they'll stay afterwards and just hang out, and it's fun. They're an English band, but Iran is a song that I think, in fact, go to YouTube sometime, and if you're a musician, you can see how they actually do the guitar work on that song. It fascinates me, not being a musician. And it's just cool that they just share that information on how to play the song correctly if you're going to be a copycat.
Don't mess up my song. Here's how to play it right.
But you talk about new wave. This is as new wave as it gets.
It really was. They had their other song that they had that I really liked was New Age Love Song.
That's a great song.
That is a cool tune.
The other thing you got to know about this guy, Mike Score, is that he was famous for his hair, which is hilarious now as he hides his baldness with his sunglasses. The guy had blonde hair that came down, and what he would do is he would comb it up and then spray it. So imagine that look. You got this thing, this crown thing, and then it'd be long in the back. It was bizarrely kind of cool, though.
In fact, that was there's been a couple of movies that have referenced that about somebody with a flock of seagulls haircut, like going back to some of the movies where I think The Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler. There's a scene where they go up to somebody at a hotel, and the clerk at the hotel has that hair, and they say something about, a flock of seagulls called. They're looking for their hair.
And then a little bit of trivia. They used to be called the Flock of Seagulls, and then later it's just Flock of Seagulls. Kind of weird.
So they probably got sued for using the word "the" without permission. I'm sure there was something banal like that. Now, the most recent video I've seen of this song, Gary, which you shared with me, was freaking hilarious. An actual, not a spoof, but an AI generated of it. But instead of ran, it was Iran, the country, and it was, I thought, a very tastefully done AI impersonation of the president and his band, which made up of his cabinet, about talking about bombing Iran.
Look that one up on YouTube. You'll love it. It's pretty funny.
There's got to be one too about Beach Boys, Barbara Ann, which could be easily turned into Bomb Iran. Bomb Iran.
Well, you know what the song Iran is about, don't you?
Running.
That's how far did you run away? Well, they're running away from a UFO. Their whole album was really about UFOs. In fact, he was wearing a shirt that said something regarding of UFOs. Yeah, the whole thing is about
Phil Collins in the air tonight.
No, you go back and listen to it, and that's exactly what the artist was singing about. He'll tell you that, and the whole thing is about running away from a UFO that had landed. I kid you not. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Now that there's been more disclosure about what the government knows about UFOs, and apparently more to come, maybe there'll be a video somewhere of them actually running from the UFO that night, probably filmed by the alien themselves.
My favorite line is Aurora Borealis in the song.
That's right. Aurora Borealis comes into view. Aurora comes in view. Yeah. Now anyway, we're just getting into how much we know lyrics. This is killer.
Well, the thing that's fun about that picture is not that it happened a long time ago when we were in radio, which was what we're talking about. It's just that how many times did you hear this song in the 80s, and how many times did you and me play this song? A billion. And it doesn't die. It's one of those songs I would classify as you never get sick of it. However, Mike Score has publicly said, I'm sick of it. Can you imagine saying out loud that you hate your own song?
Well, I think there's probably a lot of artists that are like, oh God, I got to play that one again. Jeez. Yep. I want to play my deep album cuts from our 4th album that sold 10 copies, because that's the best song I ever wrote. They all have affinities for songs that nobody else liked, but that was their song they wanted. So
what's popular doesn't mean good necessarily. Isn't that weird?
Exactly. Well, that's the last picture I had that you shared with me. So
that's it. Okay.
But you had others, let's talk about some of the other
Yeah,
encounters you had. I had
some of
just,
them was
I finally figured out I did have a couple of very minor celebrity encounters. I'll talk about those in a minute.
well, as you can see, I'm in my man cave where I have all this ego-filled stuff, but it's really memories of the past. I don't want to forget my past, though some of it is. Over here in the left-hand corner, I've got when I met Axl Rose and Steven Tyler and Aerosmith on the same day. It was in July. I think that's behind me somewhere. Yeah, July of 1988. And remember, I was a part-time guy at FM 108, KFMW in Waterloo, and believe it or not, a lot of the full-timers, they worked a lot of hours, and they wouldn't want to drive the 2 hours or whatever it was. In this case, to go backstage and stay up late. So I was part-time and still a student, and I'd say, shoot, I'll go. Why wouldn't I want to go? So that same day, it was, can you imagine Guns N' Roses warming up for Aerosmith? That's how new, and this was right after their Appetite for Destruction album.
Yeah, so they were just becoming huge. Of course, Aerosmith had been huge for years. And were they on the same bill then?
Same bill, yeah, in Hilton Coliseum in Ames. And so first, Axl Rose comes walking out first. No Slash, did not meet Slash. And Axl, you got to realize his name is Bill Bailey. He's from Indiana. And he just reminded me, I'm just going to be completely honest. Why wouldn't I be? The guy just seemed like a guy that you know, when he was in high school, probably got beat up a lot. Small guy. You know, I know he's gained a lot of weight like a lot of us have as we grow older, but back then he was a stick. Cool. I always noticed his stick. He was just a thin guy. I remember his cool tattoos, though. And you can still look those up. He made some wise choices on the tattoos, I thought, for tattoos. But he was just a down-to-earth guy. I had a back of a Wendy's coupon. That's all I had for him to sign. I've still got that on my wall. If you flip it over, it's probably a single for 59 cents back then. But so he signed that. And what's cool about my autograph, I wish I could show it to you, but he wrote W. Axl Rose, which again is his first name. In 1988, he put. And I read that he stopped doing that the year or two after that. So I think that autograph's valuable in some way because
it probably is.
He didn't sign it that way years later. Steven Tyler is exactly what you'd think what you would want him to be. The whole band just kind of stood there and they just kind of let him do his thing. He's just a fun guy who just loves to be a rock star. And I've heard this from other people who have met him. He's just the real deal. I could drive you to his house in Maui. I've been to Maui a few times and he has a house there. And I don't think I've heard back and forth that he's not performing anymore, voice problems. And then I heard that I don't know what the fact is about that. But actually meeting him in 1988, he's probably in his late 40s, I'm going to guess. And just down to earth. I remember asking him about the video. What was the one about Angel? Wasn't it called Angel?
Angel, yeah. You're my angel.
There was You're my angel. There was two of them that were, I think, Love in an Elevator as well. There were two of them, he told me, that were made in New Orleans right after Mardi Gras. So we talked about that. Not much else, as I remember. Just, of course, he wanted to, hug my girlfriend more than that's all. Those rock stars will steal your women right in front of you because they can. No, I'm kidding.
Because they can, exactly.
I just remember to be a little too friendly.
He's always been so thin, so skinny. Kind of always reminded me of who's the guy with the Rolling Stones?
Mick Jagger, and all of them,
right? I mean, it's just how they stay that, and with that road life, I don't get it. I'm sure they eat really healthy.
Who else do I have in my man cave? Fleetwood Mac. Oh, the Fleetwood Mac is, I think, great. Oh shoot, where is it? You can't see it back down here. Fleetwood Mac was my favorite rocker as far as how she was. Christine McVie, I'm talking about.
Okay.
She was one again that came up and said, "Hi, I'm Christine. Thank you for playing our music." She thanked us. Who does that? Didn't get to meet Stevie Nicks or Mick Fleetwood. They did not come back after the show. John McVie there. And so that was a great experience. Gosh, who else? I know there's a few more. I didn't go back stage a lot, but enough that I have a few stories, obviously, for the show.
One regret I have about Fleetwood Mac is I did finally get to see them in concert, but it was when Christine was not touring with them.
Yeah,
And
she's
she was all, I was kind of a soft spot for her. And of course she passed, and it's very sad, but
the other guy who's the other guy that still performs this day, can't stop, is Rick Springfield.
Yes.
I got to introduce him at the Paramount Theater in Cedar Rapids. And then I got to see him and meet him again for the second time here in Phoenix not too long ago when I had a brief stint in radio here. I don't know what to tell you about Rick. I just feel like there's something wrong with that guy. I got to be honest. And he's had mental issues. He's written about it, and I guess that's a cool thing to admit that you've got some issues. But I always just wonder, I kind of feel sorry for some of these guys in some weird way, in that I get it that that you've got this talent and you continue to share. So I guess that's better, like, obviously for the fan, but I always wonder about the individual. Like, you got all this money and what are you doing? I mean, you're still playing Jesse's Girl still. I mean, I get it once in a while, but if you look at the tour dates and you and I, you're still DJing, think how much work and energy it takes to be a mobile DJ, and then times it by 20 being a rock and roll star and being 75 years old or whatever. It's just mind-blowing. It's crazy.
Did you ever see him in the TV show Californication, which was on HBO maybe 15 years ago?
No.
Funny as heck. He played himself. And he played himself as this crazy sex addict. And all he did in the show, playing a fictionalized maybe version of Rick Springfield, was just having sex with all these women. It was so freaking funny.
Well, I just remember him as Noah Drake. That's what he was most popular for. Noah Drake at General Hospital in the 80s. I mean, the guy was, just gorgeous for the women. And he's from Australia. If you forgot that, he's Australian. Yeah. His last name is similar to Springfield, but I don't remember exactly what it was. But again, a very talented guy. And he was always cordial backstage. The last time I met him, though, he had a cold, which was weird. And so we were warned that he won't talk to you. So the first time, had a great conversation with him. But I do got to share real quick, because my wife and I, we still joke about this. I still laugh about this. Is that, what do you say? Have you ever thought about that? If you're watching and thinking, what if your favorite rock star or someone who's famous, and now here he is, he's coming through the doorway. What will you say? What are you going to say to the person? So this is what my wife came up with after the Rick Springfield show. She goes up to him and says, "Great playing up there."
Great playing
up there. So whenever we hear Rick Springfield on the radio driving around the car, I always bring up, "Great playing up there."
Did he even play anything, or did he just sing?
I think he's a great guitarist. Yeah, he's a great guitarist.
Yeah. Okay.
So
well,
I don't know. It was just awkwardly funny to me. That's what she came up with.
I got a Rick Springfield nugget for you. What was Rick Springfield's first hit song?
I don't know.
The year was 1972. He had a song called "Speak to the Sky."
No idea what you're talking about.
And go look it up on YouTube or your favorite music platform. "Speak to the Sky," Rick Springfield, in 1972, which was a number of years before, of course, Jesse's Girl and all his rock songs, but also years before he was on the soap opera. And it's not anything like you would think of him. Speak to the sky whenever things go wrong. And
no, we have no listeners left. We have nobody watching this.
It was a minor hit. It was number 14 on the U.S. pop charts. Anyway, I always throw that one out because I heard that song years later. Somebody gave me a mixtape, a cassette set of like moldy 70s songs, like bubblegum pop. It had, like The Night Chicago Died and stuff like that. And the song comes on. I was like, oh, I kind of remember that when I was a kid. I don't know who that is. And then I looked on the person had done it, how people give you a tape and they write the name of the songs inside the insert of the cassette case. And I looked and it said Rick Springfield, "Speak to the Sky." And I'm like, what? Jesse's Girl? What?
Okay, for the last artist, you got to give me 1 second to get something off my wall.
Okay. While Gary's gone, we'll take a mention to thank our sponsors. We would like to thank our main sponsor today, Charred Flesh. Charred Flesh, Good for you to eat on the grill. Enjoy.
Okay, you ready for this was my favorite group. People make fun of me all the time. Everybody should have that one group that hardly anybody else likes, and they're just a little different. And this, for me, is, you ready? Guess who that is?
I know Devo would be popping up in here somewhere.
Well, this is not a flower pot. Don't call it a flower pot. It is called officially an energy dome by the group Devo. 1980, everybody knows the hit song Whip It. And when they came out with the next album called New Traditionalist in 1981, I became a fan, a huge fan enough to see them in concert 6 times, and I've met them once in Des Moines.
Nice.
Mark Mothersbaugh, the lead singer, they still, in fact, I'm going to see him with my son next month for the 6th time. And I'm done. I'm retired because they're getting older, and it's just it needs to end. But yeah,
so how does that hat hold up in the Arizona sun? If you went out on that with wearing that on a 120-degree day, is it going to just melt around your face?
I have red stuff probably coming.
Yeah. Not advised. Kids, don't try this at home.
They should get like an award for being able to charge $60 for a piece of plastic. I don't think I paid. But you know how I got this? It was a Halloween costume at Target like 15 years ago. That's how I got it. I scored it. If you go to their website, I swear to God, it's $40, $50 for this dumb thing.
If you wear that to a concert, Gary, you will get arrested for copyright infringement because it's not official. It's not licensed merch. So be careful. We don't want you to end up in jail.
When I finally met Devo, you know, it was after the Devo show. We had to wait a long time to meet them. But they are, if you think about it, they influenced a lot of groups. David Bowie loved Devo, again with the new wave thing. A lot of synthesizers, a lot of things to say. I think their lyrics kind of got me going as a younger person. But yeah, it's just a fun group out of Akron, Ohio. And Devo started. They started at Kent State
Hall of Fame.
You know, that's a sad sore subject for a Devo fan. They've been nominated twice, and you'd think being from Ohio, Cleveland, Ohio is where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is, you'd think they'd be a shoe-in. Nope, they're not in.
Well, they're very influential. But, you know, there's been a number of bands like that were influential, but just because of their career there. I mean, look how long it took for Rush to get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. You know?
The last thing I'll say about Devo is that this is a fact. They were the first group, I guess you'd call them rock and roll, whatever, contemporary music, to use video behind them. Now every group does. Every country group, every artist uses it. So they were innovators for sure. They would produce their own films back then. That was even before videos. I remember because they started in the 70s. But they're very artistic.
Mark Mothersbaugh has a huge prolific career as a producer and composer too, right?
Yeah, a lot of music he's done for movies. The Rugrats, if you remember that cartoon he did for them. Yeah, he's by far. And so the two guys, you know, Jerry Casale is the other one. He wants to perform all the time and do live concerts. Mark would rather be in the studio, so they always have this battle between them. But yeah, there you go. That was kind of a little visit through the past of who we've met.
I'm just going to throw out a couple, Gary, that I had. I don't have any pictures, unfortunately. And the lights on my celebrity encounters are not quite as bright as the ones, and I certainly don't have any cool hats to show for it. But great blues artist, Robert Cray. I actually had beers with Robert Cray one time.
Okay.
I was playing in Iowa City, and I was in college radio. Also a college radio encounter. And again, these are minor, right? But one of the influential punk acts of the late 70s, early 80s was X. It was a Los Angeles band.
I remember
them. And then I think I was trying to remember that this morning, but I seem to remember meeting Dr. Demento.
Oh, how cool.
That's pretty much
it. Did he have his tuxedo on?
It's just a little flash of memory of Dr. Demento standing there with his, you know, how he always wore weird stuff. And it was like, I don't even remember where it was, but this could be a hallucination. I don't know, but
well, Dr. Demento, I think didn't he do a show from Minneapolis? He was a Midwestern guy.
He was a Midwestern guy. And I remember listening
you can
to
still,
him
did you know that you can
junior high kid.
Well, Did you know you can still listen to his shows? You have to pay for them now, but he has a website.
Oh, he's still doing it?
I don't know if he's still doing it. I doubt it, but
Yeah.
maybe
I was
some of
gonna
his
say
old
he's got to
shows.
be late 80s.
Yeah. But that's how Weird Al Yankovic got his start.
Oh, I know. I
It was on
remember
documentary.
listening to him when I was in junior high, and I was like, well, this is the weirdest stuff I'd ever heard. But it was on every Sunday night on one of the TV state or the radio stations in the Quad Cities, and the Dr. Demento.
I would run the show. It was on a record. Again, the technology was hilarious. Can you imagine every week making records for 500 radio stations or whatever? But I would play the record on Sunday nights, and then they'd have the little grooves in there, and you'd break for a commercial, whatever. But I saved those. And when we moved here 10, 11 years ago, I had probably, I don't know, 10 of them. And I sold those on eBay, and they just flew out the door. I mean, they would sell within the first day. So people still love
so many of those shows. I remember playing Casey Kasem on record. And God, if you wish you could have saved some of those, you weren't supposed to. Well, you weren't supposed to, no.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to.
Sneak them out.
Well,
of
next time I'm going to
Dr. Demento is 84 years old, so he very
Well, do you want to talk about your politicians, or you want to save that for a different show?
Let's do that another time. That's way boring. And I do want to share. I feel bad that you had a picture of you in action. Believe it or not, Gary, I only have 2 pictures of me when I actually worked in radio. Not that one.
No.
There we go.
Oh, yes.
This is me in the studio at KICD in Spencer.
That shirt looks itchy to me.
It was actually quite comfortable. It was a cotton blend.
I remember having some itchy shirts in the 80s.
This was posed, of course, but it was I didn't have any pictures of me behind the mic, so I got that one. And then this is me.
Oh, I love that one.
This is me in the temporary studio at the Clay County Fair in Spencer, Iowa, which used to be a chicken barn. And the first few years I worked there, I would this was my newsroom.
Did you get stung by a bee on your neck, or what's the expression?
The expression is I'm on the phone with somebody I didn't want to be on the phone with, and the person who took the picture, I was grimacing. I can't remember who it was now, but it was probably one of the politicians that someday we'll talk about, because I have some good stories about my radio days with the politicians. Let's say that for another time.
All right. Let's wrap it up then. Yep, another edition. This is our 3rd show. Appreciate you hanging in there with it, and hopefully you got a few insights of what the world was like in the earlier years of radio and meeting rock stars and celebrities.
And I just toss out too, Gary, if anybody is listening or watching and they have an idea about, hey, what about this? Send us your ideas, put them in the notes, make a comment or whatever, because it may be something that we could reflect on.
Absolutely.
We're talking about our personal stories, but we also know a lot of people that have been in this industry. They were in this industry a lot longer than us, and they may have stories to tell too. So,
all right, my friend.
See you later, man. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this edition of Welcome to Broadcasting.